right, good evening. Welcome to the regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District, September 24th, 2014, at 7 p.m. Like to have members present, please.
Joseph Otaidi, Marie Brizuela, Shaquille Ali.
Here.
Joseph Waters.
Here.
Rebecca Douglas.
Here. Thank you. Okay, and I believe we have some students from TR Policita Middle School who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody rise.
We'll introduce the students afterwards.
Right, okay.
All right, we're going to get led, though, by Jessica here. Jessica, want to go ahead and get started for us?
Please rise and face the flag and put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So my name is Brent Marquez Valenti. Oh,
And I was just saying, and
sorry.
we will actually have your presentation in just a minute.
I didn't read the agenda.
You know, don't you give out those little tests that say read the entire test before you answer?
Before signing.
Okay. Good. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And no opposition. Okay, and at this time, we are opening a public hearing to review and approve a resolution on the district's sufficiency of pupils' textbooks, opening the hearing at 7:03 p.m. Do we have any speaker cards?
Would you like me to explain this a little bit?
Certainly.
We are required to have a public hearing to state whether we have sufficient textbooks for all our students. Unfortunately, this year we have one publisher that was unable to meet their obligation and has back-ordered fifth grade for several science texts for several of our sites. And so we're unable to claim that we have sufficient textbooks this year. But they were supposed to be delivered by September 12th, but we were told on September 15th that they will be delivered October 31st. We're giving them a little bit of leeway and saying by November 15th we hope to have them all. They are coming in piecemeal, but we don't have the fifth grade science textbooks for every student in our district. Some schools have them, some don't. But that's the only area that we're missing.
Okay. And thus our statement that we will have them all by November 15th. Okay. As there are no speakers to this, we will close the public hearing at 7:04 p.m. And now, Mr. Valenti, it is your turn. We are going to have a presentation about the digital journalism class and digital media club at TR.
Yes. So, hi, I'm Brent Marquez Valenti. I'm principal at Policita Middle School. And I'd like to start by presenting the two teachers that work with our students. We have Mr. Christian Portillo, and he'll introduce the students from the Digital Media Club in a moment. And Mr. Richard Cacciati, he's our teacher that works with the Digital Journalism class. That is our school day class, and he'll talk about his students as well. So why don't we start with Mr. Portillo? Mr. Portillo?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Christian Portillo, and I am the teacher for digital media at Thomas R. Policita. Our goal this year is to make sure that we bridge the gap of communication with all the students, parents, and teachers. And we live in an era of technology. And in that era of technology, there are so many different ways to communicate with one another. There is Instagram, there's YouTube, there's Twitter, there's Vine, there's blogs. And I'm very happy and proud to say that the students in digital media, they are more than willing and eager to learn about this technology, and not only just learn about it, but use it to promote our school to the staff members and to also promote our school to the families of the students that go to Thomas R. Policita. I'm very proud to introduce the next students that are going to come up, not just because they're great students, but because of all the hard work that they do in digital media that takes so much time and it takes a lot of effort. And the two students will be Ralph Laura and Calvin Louie. And the first one that I think will want to come up is Calvin Louie.
Hi, my name is Calvin Louie, and I'm one of the leaders of Digital Media Club. We are used using Digital Media Club to help promote TRP and help students and parents to learn about the school. For example, we made a video about our principal, Mr. Valenti, and he told us what is happening at the school. We also have been interviewing teachers about back to school night.
Hi, my name is Ralph Lara, and I am one of the leaders in Digital Media Club. We learn how to edit videos, and we also try to make the person look good in the video and not bad on YouTube and Instagram. By using Twitter, we learn how to tweet interesting to catch people's attention, like kids and family who want to know what's happening.
Yes.
And then just one thing I wanted to say before we move on to the digital journalism class. What's nice too is the work that they're doing with the teachers. All the material goes through the supervision of both Mr. Portillo, Mr. Cacciati, and our friend over there, Mr. Dare, who is one of our advisors that works with the program. So they monitor all the content. It's on an ongoing basis, and the contributions, are give and take. So it's something that's still a growing project. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Cacciati. He's the teacher for the digital journalism class.
Hi, I'm Rich Cacciati, and I teach the digital journalism class. It's a school elective that meets daily with the goal of fostering curiosity and teaching students to develop quality content using different medium and technology. And I'd like to introduce my 4 students who've joined me here tonight, starting with Jessica, who led us in the pledge.
Hi, my name is Jessica Churla, and I'm one of the students in digital journalism class. During the digital journalism class, we research about innovations in tech that impact TRP's families and community. We will use Google Docs and working groups to create our own photo storytelling presentations for our class and to post on social media.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. Josue Rivales.
Hi, my name is Josue Velas. In the digital journalism class, we study and research news that affect TRP's communities. We will use Google Docs, newsmap.jp, and other links, and working groups to collaborate and to build our own photo storytelling presentations.
Thank you. Danny Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Danny Vasquez, and what I like about the digital journalism class is that we can research current events that affect TRP's students. We will use Newsmap JP and working groups to make our own slideshows, and we can present what we made and what we found.
And Michael Trejo.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm a student in the digital journalism class. In our class today, we are doing slideshows on Google Docs, and we're going to Newsmap and picking stories that we find interesting and making 20-word gists, and yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And if I could just say one thing, besides the fact that they do make me look pretty good on the YouTube videos. No, every week they come in and interview me just to get a checkup on what's going on, and then we post that up on our homepage at the TRP homepage. So they keep me on top of it too. They don't let me get too far behind. So I want to thank everybody. And if there's any question myself, the advisors, or the students can answer, please let us know. Maybe they'll come interviewing you next.
All right.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. You guys got any questions?
Just a couple comments. First of all, I'm really happy to see this group here in this presentation. It's a good use of technology in the school and using it in a practical way, in a positive way. And I just wanted to know from the students, what is the most fun part of being a part of this class?
Step on up to the mic and offer your answer. You guys can both answer, one after the other.
The thing that I like about the journalism class is that we get to use computers.
Okay.
All right.
And the thing I like about the digital journalism class is that you get to learn stories like every day, and you get to do projects and learn new stuff about everything and stuff new every day.
Okay.
All right.
That's great.
This is great. This is important that you're involved in this. Oh, yeah, come on up.
My favorite part about Digital Media Club is interviewing teachers.
That's
All
fun.
right. All right, great. So those are all good reasons to be involved, and I just wanted to say that this is good because those are the types of jobs that will be available in the future, is writing blogs and doing interviews and doing marketing for people in writing. So keep up the great work.
And you never know when what you're doing, you think you're doing something else and you find that you have to have a blog or a Twitter account. And by the way, if any of you kids could help me figure out this Twitter thing, I could use it. Right. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all very much for coming tonight and for sharing about your club. We have some certificates to thank you for coming and leading our
So
pledge as well.
before we distribute the certificates, can I say a few words?
Oh, certainly.
So I just want to thank the students at TRP and the staff at TRP and Mr. Dare as well. Mr. Dare is not only a friend of TRP, but he's a friend of our district. If you remember, and you were active in Measure I campaigning, we utilized his facility on Skyline to do phone banking. So we can't thank you enough, Mr. Dare. That effort really helped bring out the vote. Also, I just sort of wanted to put a question out there because I know that digital citizenship is a topic that your generation is learning and is my generation is learning too. You know, how are we citizens on social media? How are we being responsible with the words we use? And I was wondering, and you don't need to answer today, but I know that you have your homeroom classes that you do once a week where you guys talk about things like character education and lots of other different things. It might be really cool if one of the classes, and I don't know which one would be most fit for this, but doing like a 5 or 6, 5 to 8 minute YouTube videos on what it means to be a responsible digital citizen, and using that, and then if it worked out really well, we share it with other middle schools in our district and even across the county. So you guys could get a lot of views and hits on your YouTube channel. But that would be a really cool thing because I know you're learning about it. I know that you're discussing it, and if you could just use that as a platform to teach other people, other students at your school, you know, what it means to be a responsible digital citizen, I think that'd be a great service to our community.
I agree. That's a great idea.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then, go ahead. So like I say, again, thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you, parents, for bringing them. And to express our appreciation, we do have some certificates for you.
Calvin, please.
Jessica Turtle. And Danny Vasquez.
Josue Reveles. But before you all get up, I do want to say that I want to congratulate you all on coming and having the courage to come and stand in front of us and speak. I know it can be a frightening thing, and I would say that what you're doing with your digital media classes is helping you to already in developing those public speaking skills and the courage to do it. Thanks again for coming. Let's give them a round of applause as they sneak off to do their homework. And we do not actually insist that students leave after they do their presentations. We just recognize that it's a school night. Okay, that does bring us to the communication section of our agenda. Do we have any comments from administrators tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I went to back to school night last week at Fernando Rivera, and the multi-purpose room was full of parents and some kids as well, and it was charged with a lot of high energy, and it was exciting to see that everybody seemed to be excited to be back at school. So let's hope that they're excited to prepare for the year-end open house as well.
Now that's thinking a little too far ahead. I'm not thinking about the end of the year yet.
I was just really excited to see that presentation because we are rolling out our Chromebooks and laptops, and so it's really nice that they are already building upon what we're hoping to get out to school sites very quickly.
That's true, yeah.
I'd also like to thank the students and staff at TRP for their presentation. It is exciting to see new things happening in the district in a real positive way. And I was at Ben Franklin's back to school night, and it's great to see their band perform, and again, another packed house of parents and families. So thank you to Ben Franklin's staff.
Okay, board members, acknowledgements and commendations.
I just wanted to actually commend Mr. Vidales because we get communications from the public at times, and when people come to me and ask questions, I say, well, first, did you talk to the principal? And then next, for them to talk to the superintendent. And so there was one experience where a community member thanked me for referring them to Mr. Vidales, and they were able to get their needs met. So I just wanted to come. All right. So halfway there. So that's pretty much it.
I know you just walked in, Mr. Otidy, but did you have anything you needed to tell the world tonight?
Not much, but it's glad to see our principals here. Thank you very much.
I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I also was at the Fernando Rivera back to school night, just enjoying the crowd, seeing how many parents have come out. It's great to see the parents there doing what they need to do to know what goes on with their students at school every day. And I think that was all I had to say tonight. We have some speaker cards for persons wishing to address the board. Let me guess. Ms. Melinda Dart.
What a shot. Hi, Melinda Dart, AFT 3267. I just want to remind everyone that there is an election coming up in November, and we hope that everybody's going to participate in that election. And there are some forums that people can attend and hear about candidates. Our sister district, the high school district, is electing school board members. So they're having two different forums in partnership with the League of Women Voters. And one is Wednesday, October 1st at 7 p.m. at Westmore High School in the theater. And the second one is the very next night, October 2nd at 7 p.m. That's Thursday night at Oceana in Pacifica. And also, this coming Saturday, there is I think it's actually a debate, or it may be a forum, with the two candidates for state superintendent of the state. And that is at 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. at the Marriott by the airport. And that one you need to register for, and if you go to Educate Our State, you can RSVP for that. And I just really want to encourage everyone to be involved and vote for public education, and be involved in your schools, be involved in electing representatives for you at both the school board level and all the way up to the state level, because everyone who can vote has a voice in who represents them. So let's be aware, and let's spread the word to our friends too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dart. That's really important. It's worth noting that this is the first time in 10 years that the high school board has had a contested election, and so it's the first time in 10 years you've had a chance to have a say in who sits on that board. So definitely worth attending the debates and making it to the polls.
If I may echo on that, I mean, it's good to see that we're having contested elections again, because that shows that people are civically engaged again. Not too long ago, it was just our election that was the first contested election in a long time also. But as much as we get more people involved and get the word out, and it really is not just cool to vote, but it's our duty to vote, to instill that in our kids now, because we lost a generation of people who just don't think it matters to vote. And once again, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu.
That's right, and you don't get a plate. That's exactly, yeah. Okay, thank you. Mr. Vidales, do you have correspondence and comments?
Yes. So I too was able to attend the back to school night I attended at TR Policita, and I had an opportunity to walk into some classrooms and again see teachers engaging parents and the role of the Common Core state standards, what it means for their children, the skills that they need to develop. I also took a stroll down that last hallway where the construction is scheduled to begin, because it's sort of a long tunnel now, where they did need to put up the protective fencing as well as the plywood to protect students from any debris that may be a result of the tearing up of the blacktop or any other construction activity. So while it's not great to not have any sunlight, it is great to know that students will be protected, and I was pleased with that. And teacher, I don't know if that's a permanent display, but teacher did put up some art pieces on that wall that made it look a little bit interesting. You know, I think there were some cell models that were up on the wall, 3D cell models that caught my attention.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, we have an opportunity to display art now, indoor art. I know a lot of our schools lament not having indoor hallways, and now we have one more at TR Policita. We have another one outside their office, yeah. I also wanted to share with the board that I did receive feedback from the county on the LCAP and our annual adopted budget. You know, every year we do get some feedback from the county on our budget. This year was on the LCAP and the budget. And what I wanted to do is just take some time here just to read some excerpts. I know that Dr. Douglas got the full 10-page letter. If any other board member wants it, I'd be happy to have it copied and give to you. So they broke it up into two sections. There is LCAP feedback and budget feedback. And in terms of the LCAP, they went through each section and they spoke what the section was and any feedback that we needed. And every single section except one, it says, the San Mateo County Office of Education offers no technical assistant recommendations on this section at this time. So in all the different sections, that was the response that we received. In one section, the section having to do with goals, it said that we as a district identified 5 LCAP goals and metrics to measure progress over time. The county office recommends that during its annual LCAP revision process this next year, that we revisit those metrics identified in an Education Code 52060 and fully incorporate them into the revised LCAP as appropriate. And I believe that Education Code 52060 is new, and we didn't have that when we wrote it, so, but it was something that came along as part of the budget and the State Board of Education, so we will be reviewing that and making sure that we're fine there. Now, as far as the adopted budget goes, again, you know, they just state the obvious. They start off by telling us, you know, your operating budget shows a operating deficit of 2.1 million, which we are terming strategic use of our reserves. And also, we learned just at our last meeting that it's not quite 2.1 million anymore, because after the state budget was adopted and we revised, it's lower now. So, but it is still strategically used of our reserves. And they did, actually, they made the statement, and I think they have to do this for all districts. We had a good response. It says, the district has sufficient budget in the general fund to support and implement the actions and services included in the LCAP for the budget year. That's something they looked at for all of the districts. Said that in terms of cash flow, I'm not sure if this is a state requirement, but it certainly is a county requirement. We need to demonstrate and submit cash flow projections for every month for 2 years, the current and the following year. It said that we were able to show positive cash balance at the end of each month during both fiscal years. So that's a good thing. We haven't always been able to do it for every month, but in the next 2 months we're fine. Did commend us for having adequate funds to meet our cash flow needs without outside borrowings. So that, you know, while comments have been made that the district is not a bank, and we certainly are not a bank, our positive cash reserves do allow us not to have to deal with a bank to help us meet our needs at the end of each month, which is costly because there is interest on those, even overnight borrowing, which we would have had to do had we not had our reserves to fall back on. Another statement saying that the county superintendent urges the district to continue implementing best practices and regularly monitoring our cash position to ensure payroll and other monthly obligations are met on a timely basis, and that is certainly a goal that we have, that, you know, we want to make sure that we can meet all of our obligations every month. We don't want to be in a position where we will not be able to. Let's see, couple more. So they have to do this because we did show a deficit for this year. It says the county superintendent recommends that the district continue to closely monitor the budget to ensure that operating deficits in the general fund are effectively managed and eliminated in the future. The district is reminded to maintain sufficient funds in the budget for current and subsequent 2 fiscal years to support all the actions and services specified in the district's 3-year LCAP. And as was explained to the board, we do have a plan for how we're going to manage that and how we're going to operate within our means, but it's 2 years out at least, maybe 3 years out, and we will get there. They did insert a caution saying that we need to be aware that the implementation of the healthcare reform and anticipated increase in PERS contribution and the potential cost sharing of STRS unfunded liabilities may result in unanticipated employer costs that are beyond the scope of bargaining. So those are all things that we have on our radar, and as budgets are prepared, we incorporate them and make assumptions on them if we don't have the actual data to back it up. And I think that was about it in terms of what I highlighted. So I just wanted to let the board know that the staff here, both Ms. McCulick and Ms. Kessler, did an excellent job in preparing our LCAP and the adopted budget. Not every district had no recommendations at this time. I know I heard from several that they didn't, and they have to make some revisions that they'll be done probably in the next couple months. So we're fortunate that we were diligent and did what we needed to do. So thank you, Ms. Kessler, thank you, Ms. McCulick, and all of your staff that helped with that.
Yes.
Just a brief question. Did they, since they stated the obvious about, us having the deficit, did they mention anything about the conservative projections that we?
They did, and they said the district did utilize some conservative projections for revenue in out years. And, they're very aware, but because they are our fiscal monitors, they do have to put in those statements, because if they don't, then they are not doing their duty to let us know what we already know, but they have to put it in writing.
Right. So that's why we like using that language as well.
Yeah.
That is strategic use of reserves and not deficit spending.
Yeah. And if I may comment, one of the last things they had said there about the PERS and the STIRS in the future years, that is in our multi-year projection already.
Right.
So we have actually included that.
Yes.
Barring further increases that we're not yet warned about. Well, on behalf of the board, I really want to thank you too, and your staffs for doing that. It's great for us to have it done and done right the first time too. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Okay, and was that all of
That's
your?
it. That's
that
all
was,
my comments
That was
and
all your comments.
correspondence,
Okay, great. That brings us to general functions, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call vote for this one, please.
Mr. Otidy,
Aye.
Mr. Ali,
Aye.
Mr. Waters,
Aye.
Dr. Douglas.
Aye. Okay, thank you. And that brings us to section 2, curriculum and instruction, the acceptance of donations. I know this is your favorite. so-
My favorite part again. Once again, thank you for the following people for donating to our district. Every dollar counts, every penny counts. Target Take Care of Education and also Jamba Juice. Thank you very much.
You want to make a motion?
I would like to motion to approve these donations.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And not surprisingly, there's no opposition to that one. Okay, section 3, business and financial procedures. Item 5, the approval of the leaseback agreement, site lease and sublease. Would one of you care to address this?
Sure, I'll do that. Well, we have lots of people here tonight to address it for us, and we've been working very hard, Rick Young and I, with both Arnie Sandberg from Lozano Smith, who will come and explain to you what the leaseback agreement is, what the site lease agreement is, and also what the sublease agreement is. And then we have Paul Keogh from Block and Christina. Right? Kristen, although I forget her last name. Obviously, I forgot her first name, too. From Block to go over what they are going to be doing for us, and this leaseback agreement does include the GMP, guaranteed maximum price. So this is Arnie Sandberg from Lozano Smith.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr.
Good evening. Nice to see you again. I was last here in May when we were talking about the pre-construction agreement for block construction. And now the DSA has approved the plans. We're able to enter the leaseback contracts. And I've been working with Julie on the contract documents and also with Rick and Paul. They've been working hard on the GMP, the price of the contract, and we've been putting it all together. And I believe the copies of the documents were in the board agenda packet. The documents have been signed by Block, so what that means is that upon board approval tonight, you have a contract. And construction can proceed once the notice to proceed is sent, et cetera. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, that'll be it.
Tonight?
It doesn't rain.
In terms of the documents themselves, I'm just going to briefly summarize it, and if you have any questions on the details, I'm happy to answer. The standard form for leaseback arrangements in California, especially in the Bay Area, is that you have 3 documents. One is the leaseback agreement, and that's the biggest document. That's the one that has a lot of the basic provisions, such as the time of construction, the price, and then also the general conditions, which goes into a lot of exquisite detail on how the project will be run generally, not the plan for design, but just generally the rules as to how the project will be administered. Then there is the site lease agreement, which is the document that technically is the lease. That's where the district leases it to Block for $1 a year, and Block becomes the lessee and will perform construction. And the construction is being performed pursuant to the sublease agreement. And the sublease agreement provides for payments from the district to Block on a monthly basis, and these sublease payments reimburse Block for the cost of construction. And that's where the GMP is paid to Block through the sublease agreement, even though it's also stated in the primary leaseback agreement. And that's it in a nutshell. If you'd like to go into more detail on something, I'd be happy.
I think just to make sure that everybody understands and is on the same page with this, can you give a really brief explanation of why this, apparently somewhat Byzantine approach to having the construction done?
Leaseback, well, let me back up. There are usually quite a few methods to deliver a project. These delivery methods vary from public entity type to public entity type. The most common one is competitive bidding, and most public agencies use competitive bidding. But there are exceptions to competitive bidding. Leaseback is an exception for school districts so that they don't have to go through the competitive bidding process and take a contractor that they aren't able to vet through the interview process. Through the advantage of leaseback is that you can go through a request for proposal process where you interview companies such as Block and select the one that is the best fit. It also helps expedite things a little bit. Once the DSA approves the plans, you can immediately, the contractor you've selected can immediately start processing bids from the trades contractors and get your GMP and get the contract in front of the board for award a bit quicker. And there are pros and cons between these delivery methods. For this project, the district chose to use leaseback. And in fact, last week there was there have been some rumblings across the state that you may have heard some people challenging leaseback, that it may not be legal. Well, there was a Court of Appeal decision just last week finally confirming what we all knew, that it is legal. There's no dispute about that, in case anyone has heard anything. It's been used for years. Its use has grown. School districts use it quite a bit, and it has advantages that the district is gaining here on this project.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to add to that. When we're doing a big project like this, there are a lot of different trades that need to go out and get a proposal from. And in managing that, you want to protect yourself to make sure that you have good bidders, ones that you are desirable. And either you've got to interview them all and get a pre-qualified list of everybody before you put out the request for proposal or the public bid document. Or if you don't do that, in either case, you have to take the lowest responsible bidder. And that bidder in a project like this might be one, because there's so many pieces that need to fit together, that has a reputation of holding up projects for 3, 4, 5 weeks, which holds up everybody else. And this way, if the lowest bidder is known, and of course, Block is going to pre-qualify bidders that they send things out to in the first place. But if the lowest qualified bidder is one of these companies that is a little bit less desirable, and the price is not worth, the savings is not worth it, we are able to take the higher price, which in the end would cost us a lot less. And so that is one of the big positives of it.
And one other thing that I'd like to mention is the way the contract documents were structured and the way that the GMP price was developed. While Block was picked through an interview process, they have been picking the trades through a competitive bidding process. So out of the 15 or more bid packages, if you will, on the project, Block has been selecting them through a bid process. I'm sure they can talk about it a bit more in detail. And that helps guarantee that the district is getting a very good price.
As well, Rick Young and I have reviewed every one of the sets of proposals that have come through to look at how many bidders were there, what was the range, and why individuals got it. And in this case, I believe they were always the lowest bid, but that's because Block already knew who they were soliciting.
I get it.
If nothing else.
Sure.
Block's turn?
Let's have our
All right.
representative from Block.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember this before.
He'll explain.
Paul Kehoe with Block Construction. So I just want to reiterate what both Arnie and Julie were saying, that we have a sub-database of about 600 different subcontractors. And so we've pre-qualified all of those to make sure that, one, we know that they're financially viable, two, that they have a reputation for getting the work done and getting it done on time. So we put this out for about 25 different bid packages and solicited bids from anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 subcontractors in each trade. And each one of them we selected to put on the bidders list because they have had school experience with us and they have had great experience with us in terms of getting projects done on time and under budget. So we're very confident with the number, with the subcontractors we have on board. As Julie said, we reviewed the whole GMP with Rick and Julie and answered quite a few good questions, and we're just happy to get started as soon as we can.
Just out of curiosity.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Tidy.
Just out of curiosity, understanding that you kind of pre-qualified these contractors or these other trades, how does it allow for and these are people that you've worked with in the past, how does it allow for minority-owned businesses or women-owned businesses to get into that circle, to be able to compete or actually bid for that process if it's already a pre-filtered selection of vendors you've already worked with in the past?
So we contact all kinds of subcontractors and say, please pre-qualify with us so that we can get you on our bidders list. So we're always contacting the subcontractors to get
And
on
how
our
do you
bidders
contact
list.
those subcontractors if they're already on the list that you've already worked with in the past?
I think you're making
Yeah.
you've made a jump there, because he's not said that this list is of people that they've worked with before. It's a list of contractors that they have pre-qualified. That does not necessarily, I presume, mean that you've worked with them before. It means that they were out there, you decided that they were competent and.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay.
So are there any vendors that you haven't worked with before?
They submit paperwork to us for us to review, to verify that they are pre-qualified. We have a whole list questionnaire in terms of, what their financial status is, what they've done in the past, what kind of experience they have. So we do solicit minority and women-owned. Matter of fact, one of the ones that was an electrical one that was local that didn't quite get the job was a minority-owned or women-owned. We also solicited and put out an advertisement for DVBE contractors, which is necessary for you if you go back and need to get state funding. So that's another step that we took to ensure that we were contacting everybody.
Are there any new vendors that you're working with on this project that you haven't worked with in the past?
On this project, there are a couple that I hadn't personally worked with, but I think all of them have worked with our company before.
Got it. So the reason I bring this up, because I also went to the federal certification process of basically bidding for government jobs or civic jobs. And if I'm correct, do we have to take a percentage of minority-owned and women-owned businesses when we have large projects like this? Because it's government money?
I don't believe so, but I would defer that to perhaps Arnie.
Arnie can answer that one better.
There are different rules between federal projects and state. I think you mentioned it might have been federal certification you were talking about. I think they have more women enterprises and minority enterprises, more rules relating to that. In this, for state projects under state law, right now DVBE, which is just Disabled Veterans Business Enterprises, are the ones that the district primarily has to focus on for the reason Paul mentioned, so that if you want to get state money for the project down the road, you can establish, you can show that you went out and tried to get some of those contractors.
And the only reason I bring that up is because, as we know, one of the largest drivers of the economy is government money. And as you know, this is a minority majority state of a lot of business owners. So that's basically what I'm saying, and also women. That's what I'm saying is that for me, my personal opinion is keep the money local. It stays locally here versus pushing it out, and then it goes somewhere else.
Perhaps you can speak to this, but I also understand we are heavily regulated in terms of our requirement to give work to the lowest bidder.
Yes, and again, with leaseback, those restrictions are eased a little bit, but as I explained, under these contract documents, while the selection of the primary contractor block was done through an interview process based on best fit and other factors and price, the bidding on the trades was competitive, and the contract documents required that.
Right. Yeah. So we have a certain amount of leeway to attempt to try to keep work local or whatever, but we also have an obligation to our taxpayers to do it the least expensive, feasible way, responsible way. There we go. Just wanted to kind of clarify why that might not all come out seeming as perfect as we'd like it.
So, Mr. Kehoe, if you wouldn't mind, I think just for the public's knowledge, it is in the documents, it is on the first page of the document. If you wouldn't mind stating how you arrived at the guaranteed maximum price and also what it is.
So the guaranteed maximum price is our price that is set, that we will not go over that amount unless there are district changes to the scope of the project. But as far as the project is set now, designed and set, our GMP means that we will build the project for that amount or less. And there are contingencies and allowances that are set in that guaranteed maximum price, that if those contingencies and allowances are not spent, and we can only spend them if we get approval from the district, those monies goes back to the district.
Do you remember off the top of your head what all the numbers are that the final GMP was?
On that document.
I think I remember the first three numbers, but I don't remember the.
It was, I know it was $10,590,000, but I don't remember the last three.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
$55.
And $55.
So 10.5 million.
And nearly $1 million of that is in contingency, yes.
We know that some of that's going to have to be used.
Mhm.
But we also believe that some of that will probably be returned.
My only question was similar to Mr. Otardi's. It just had to do with hiring local labor. So how are you allowing for that? Or is there a percentage or?
So in terms of local labor, there are,
qualification?
yeah, I'm sorry, not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
So there are, all of the trades that we're using are all union labor.
All right.
And so there are certain percentages that have to be used from the local trade unions here in the peninsula.
Got it.
So the local labor will be incorporated into this.
All right. Do you know what the percentage is?
It varies per trade union. So I think the electrical is probably the biggest one, and I think there at least 50% has to be within the local union.
All right.
And just to clarify also, I think all of the subcontractors that we're dealing with are all within the Bay Area as well.
All right. Thanks.
Are there further questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve. if there's no other questions.
Second. So why don't we just say, just for the record, the lease-back agreement, the site lease, and the sublease?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll read the whole thing. So I make a motion to approve the lease-back agreement, site lease, and sublease for TR Policy, the middle school new building project.
Second. And we have a second from Mr. Waters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that is passed unanimously.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I expect to hear those hammers pounding tomorrow morning.
Surveyors on site tomorrow.
I'll be
Far
up
out.
there.
Thank you.
Good night,
Camera
thank
up
you.
there, Bernie.
Yes. Okay, item 6, under business and financial procedures. Resolution 14-09-24A. This is a resolution approving the forms of preliminary official statement and purchase contract prepared in connection with the issuance of Jefferson Elementary School District bonds.
Another exciting one.
Yes.
How we're going to pay for it.
Is Tony here?
I say, this is how we're going to pay for all of this.
Yes, since you just approved $10.5 million worth of expenditures, we do need the money to be able to pay for those. And they will come through this Series B bond issue. And I have been working, participating in a Q&A, actually, with Kegent and Standards & Poor's, and then me and Kegent and Moody's to work on our ratings. And though the ratings, they should be published tomorrow, and it is my belief that we will be able to maintain our high standard of rating that we had before. So, but we will find out for sure tomorrow when it's published. In the meantime, we have David Kasnoka from Stradling, Yoka, Carlson, and something else here to be able to talk about the documents for you. And we also have Chet Wang from Kegent. He's also here for any questions that you might have on, Kegent is our advisor, and Stradling, well, David Kasnoka is our bond counsel. So, David, would you like to maybe tell them what they're approving tonight, should they decide to approve the funds to pay for the leaseback?
Okay. For the record, my name is David Kasnoka from Stradling Yaka. The process to sell these bonds is a little different than what we've done before. We made a decision a few months ago that the district didn't need money, the $17.5 million, until the beginning of the fall. But back in May, we had you adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds. We've separated the resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds from the approval of these two documents, the purchase contract and the official statement. And we did that because the county has to levy the tax for these bonds, and they set the tax rolls in late August. So we needed to know and have board action directing the county to put the tax for these bonds on the tax roll sooner than you really needed the money. So in anticipation of selling the bonds in the fall, we had you adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds so that we could get the tax rate on the rolls. The second reason why we didn't have the official statement approved and the purchase contract approved back then is we hadn't gone through the process of bidding the role of the underwriter for the transaction. So in the intervening months between May and now, the district has interviewed 4 or 5 different investment banking firms and made a selection. And I think their contract is on the agenda for tonight as well. So we
Already approved.
So we didn't want to bring you documents that did not include the name of the investment banking firm that was going to approve the bond. So we've bifurcated the approval. So tonight's approval is not for the issuance of the bonds. We've already done that. So tonight's approval is to approve the form of official statement, and that's the document that is mailed out to investors and serves as the basis for which investors make a decision to buy or not buy the bonds. Then the resolution approves the purchase contract, which is between you and Stiefel Nicholas, which will be executed at the time that they make a specific offer to purchase your bonds at a specific price. So we're approving the forms of these documents tonight. The purchase contract will be executed, in 3 weeks or so, 2 weeks before you get your money. So that's the action that you're taking tonight. Any questions?
So is it for the exact amount of 10.5 million?
It's for 17,500,000.
Oh, because
is
we
what
already
the-
did that before. That's
Yeah, so that's the not to exceed par amount of this series of bonds. We may be a little less than that, but no more than 17.5.
all right. So that was going to be my next question. Do we have to take the whole 17?
You don't have to, you can take less than 17.5, but no
Who
more
makes that
than.
decision, Ms. Kessler or?
Well, you've kind of made that decision already in authorizing them, and because we will be needing the funds, they've been strategically planned so that we can issue them and the property taxpayers can bear the burden of those issues. So we're set to not have it go over a certain amount per $100,000 of value, which I believe is $30 per 100,000. And as our older bonds mature and come off of that, they've paid that off, it gives us more room to be able to issue these bonds.
Bonds are.
Yeah.
You only issue bonds though if you have things to spend it on. So if you have a $10.5 million project, the presumption here is that you have $7 million or so of other projects that the balance will be
Coming
spent
up
on.
Phase
So-
2, Phase 3.
was to
And
say,
also the wireless upgrade project,
All right.
which you approved.
As I recall, we
That's
had
good.
something approaching an infinite number of projects that our district needed done.
Definitely.
Since we're looking, this is a resolution or basically to approve the official statement, looking at the notes, is there a copy of the prospectus to review?
Yes, Julie, you have a copy of that with you?
I do. David will know where things are in here. Did you want to
Oh, no, I remember, this is the stuff that I love.
So also, I've been working with David's colleague, Nick Hoyer, going over a lot of the information that is being presented in the POS, preliminary official statement, to make sure it's correct. And then, of course, that's the same kind of information that was working with Standard & Poor's and Moody that would interest them as well.
And I think while Mr. Otetti is looking at that document, I do have a speaker card. So before we take more questions and discussion here on the board, we'll hear from our public.
Linda Dart, AFT. I just have to make a positive comment about how great and wonderful it is that you're taking this step. Hopefully, you are going to take it to rebuild and modernize TRP that so badly needs it, and to show the students and the community of that school that we really value them, and we want to give them a first-class building that's up to date to get educated in. And also, I wanted to say that it's how reassuring it is to hear that union labor will be used, because those are people that have been trained and have gone through apprenticeship programs and know how to do their jobs safely. And also that I know for a fact that it's very hard to get to find enough young women right now to go into the trades, and particularly in the electrician field. And that maybe we should put our heads together as a district and think about how we can encourage girls to go into those fields, because those are good, well-paying jobs. But I know there's a dearth of young women in those jobs. Thank you.
Yeah. Pay better than college professor.
The question I did have was the debt service schedule.
So how that works is in the preliminary, this is the preliminary official statement.
Okay, so there's no red herring on this? Oh, no, there is.
Yeah. So that's a preliminary official statement. That's what's mailed to investors in advance of the sale of the bonds.
Understood.
So the debt service schedule stays blank until the bonds are sold, and the actual debt service then gets filled in the final official statement that is delivered to investors after the bonds are sold, when we know what the interest rates were and what the actual annual cost to the district will be for the sale.
And then that's exactly why I was looking for this, because this is exactly what we will be paying.
Right.
But we don't know.
Now, do we have on that, do we have, as I recall, sort of a, like
Threshold.
not more than a threshold that, for interest rates and so forth?
Yeah, actually, we have a pre-pricing meeting, and maybe Chet, are you part of that pre-pricing meeting as well, right?
So before,
It's Chet Wang with Keegan, our advisor.
thank you and good evening. So before the bonds are actually sold, the financing team will have a pre-pricing conference call where the underwriter, Stifel Nicholas, will propose preliminary interest rates for the sale of the bonds the following morning. They'll give an update on the markets. They'll talk about some of the investor feedback they've received. They'll talk about firms that have approved Jefferson School District for purchase. And they'll present the proposed interest rates to district staff, and district staff will set those levels as, okay, this is the rate that we are approving you to enter the market in. And depending on how the sale goes, perhaps they could outperform the rates, or if things don't go well, they might have to come back to the district staff and say, hey, our initial read got changed because of conditions in the marketplace. We would like your approval to increase the interest rate. So that will be set at the date prior to the scheduled sale date of the bonds.
And sometimes the underwriter also will pick up some of the bonds themselves a lot of times. And that's one of the things we look at when we interview the underwriters, is to see how much, what's their history of picking up some of the bonds themselves, if they don't find enough buyers at the lower level.
So can you give an example? What type of companies are buying these types of bonds?
There's all types of investors within different yields or different years of the maturity schedule. So if you're selling $17 million of bonds, you might have $1 million in year one, $1 million in year two. You might have blocks of $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 bonds in the middle, and you might have 25 to 30 years out larger blocks of bonds. So it all depends on where you are on that maturity schedule. I would say in the first 10 years, at least based on some of our recent bond sales, you're having retail investors come in. You're having what's called separately managed accounts, which are investment advisors acting on behalf of retail. In the middle, you're having money managers and other institutional investors. And near the back end, what we've been seeing is bank trust departments and insurance companies actually picking up bond maturities. So it'll all depend on how things shake out on the date of the sale.
And if I may also add to that, is that as someone that's also come from banking, as a government entity, and also because we have taxing authority or taxing powers, we're considered the gold standard of investments. We're also muni tax exempt if you lived in the area. So we shouldn't have to pay too much. And that's why people are willing to take it. Banks are willing to take this on, but we're the gold standard. And that's why I was so interested in looking what our debt service would be, because that's how much we're paying in fees. So if we're charged too much in fees, it's like, what are we paying for? We're the gold standard. Why? There's no risk to us. Why? Because we got land, we got taxing authority, we got everything.
And I would concur those statements. There's a lot of uncertainty in the global environment. You've got airstrikes in Syria. You've got countries invading other countries.
For something like that, I think that's a stretch.
Well,
because as a tax exempt, if you buy this and you have muni tax exempt status, and also the fact that we have taxing authority.
I believe that was his point.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think you're making a stretch.
We're saying the same thing.
Because we could also say that if the asteroid hits, that's a big risk, right?
I believe we'll
all
allow
of that,
you to finish your statement there, because I think I see where you were going with
yeah,
that.
it affects investor appetite. So when there's uncertainty and fear in the global markets, investors will put their money in safe haven investments. That will include U.S. Treasuries and
school bonds,
local bonds that have taxing power. So that helps.
So we're safe. All right. Okay. Are there any further questions? Anybody feeling up for making the motion for this fairly lengthy resolution title?
Motion to approve. And Resolution 14-09-24A, a resolution of the Board of Education of Jefferson Elementary School District approving the forms of preliminary official statement and purchase contract prepared in connection with the issuance of Jefferson Elementary School District election of 2012 GO bonds, Series B.
Second.
All right. That is a resolution. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Otidy?
Aye.
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Dr. Douglas?
Aye. Thank you. All right, we're underway. We've got a contractor, we've got some money.
Seal the deal.
Mr. Valenti, you will get a new school.
That's right.
Or at least a mostly new school. Okay, great. And that brings us, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming and helping us figure that out. Okay, this does bring us to section 4, certificated personnel. We have a certificated retirement.
Yes, we do. The administration does recommend you approve Ken Klein's retirement request. He taught 6th grade at F.D. Roosevelt School, and his effective date of retirement would be November 1st of 2014. And it doesn't have his initial date with us, but he has certainly worked more than 20 years in the district, so we would like a resolution commending him for his service.
Motion to approve certificate retirement 2014, 2015
For Mr. Kenneth Klein.
for Mr. Kenneth Klein.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Enjoy your retirement, Mr. Klein. Seems like there's a lot of that goes around.
Wow.
Golly.
Fall the council party.
This does bring us down to the bottom of our agenda. Do we have any reports from board members?
Comments.
Just
Or,
comment.
or additional comments?
Just a quick comment that I forget the name of the bill, but I think it's 146 to reverse the requirement of us spending down reserves. Did you hear about that?
I did.
All right. Did you want to say something about it?
I don't think it's made it.
Oh, is that right?
It's, they only had a short window, like a couple of weeks, and it didn't. So,
It'll come up again.
yeah, it'll come up after the fact.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've established Fund 20 to help us with that, so
Right.
that we don't have to needlessly spend down funds.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And then the only other thing was that, and I didn't get a chance to see the results of the KC scores for our high school district here, but in general, California did very well, even though, you know, they're saying they're going to have to match it up against the Common Core. So, but for right now, they're saying that California is doing well with graduating our students from high school proficiently.
Mhm. And hopefully we can continue that trend.
I hope so.
Is there any other? Well, I just want to comment that I've seen quite a few of our Daly City young people lately, not to mention some of their parents, out on their bicycles without helmets. I do not want to see anybody out there on their bicycle without a helmet. That's my public service announcement for the evening.
All right.
I've been riding a bicycle for more years than I'm going to admit. I have crashed it many times. Don't ride without a helmet.
If I may. Very nice. It is election time.
You got that.
Let's teach the next generation to vote. It's the only way for us to reinvigorate our public school system with the resources it needs, with the staffing that it needs, and the teachers that we need. Let's get the right people into the state. So one of the biggest problems of our area is we're not registered to vote. So please tell your friends, please tell your kids. I'm offering myself. I'll work together with Melinda. Let's go do some registration drives. That's important. Let me know.
I'll be there with you.
Yep.
You know, it might be a good time to point out the son of a friend of mine before our last election, when he had just turned 18. He had attended the Sojourn to the Pass civil rights bus tour through the South. And he was out there actively grabbing his friends by the throat if necessary and making them register to vote, because what he said was, having seen what people sacrificed for the right to vote, he could not imagine not voting in every election. And that's a worthwhile lesson for all of us to take home. I would say if he learned nothing else in high school, he's got it. He's got the key thing there. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to close our meeting tonight in memory of the husband of Brenda Smith, Brenda Smith Ray, who was the husband was Carl Ray, passed away last week. Brenda was our director of special education through last year, and we are, share our deepest sympathy for her loss at this time. So if we could have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. We will take a 5-minute recess and reconvene to closed session.